eventually people are going to say, what the hell is going on?
No matter how far you go into the dark, when you flip, you go exactly the same place to the light. In our galaxy, everything. Because everything is in balance. Everything is a polarity.
I think it's just going to get weirder and weirder and weirder, and finally it's going to be so weird that people are going to have to talk about how weird it is.
We made it. We made it. We nearly didn't. Hello, welcome to Weird Week. I'm Josh. Happy Easter. We made it to 10K, and I gotta be honest, this whole live stream thing, there's a lot of work. A lot of things were going on behind the scenes, and I wasn't sure if we were gonna make it, but here we are. So, today, I'm excited. Thank you guys. We already got a lot of people in the chat here, which is just so cool. We're going to be getting into the Blue Origin spaceflight today, the UAP hearing news that's just come out. We're going to be looking at a few clips that came out this week from Jesse Michaels and Chris Ramsey from Area 52. Also, a couple of other things. Remote viewers talking about Stargates in Iraq. We're going to be looking at that. But also, this is a celebration stream. This is a celebration for hitting 10K. So, a bit of a Q&A as well. I'm going to try and answer things as we go. And, you know, the whole idea of a live show was to get you guys involved as well, which you are doing in the chat, which is amazing so far. So there's already a whole bunch of you weirdos here. Heidi Stanley, Christina Mazinski, I am G-Bay, Kat Simpson, Daniel Walmsley, and I think we've got Nicole Bordeaux and Mr. Canny right up the top. Thank you guys for dropping in. That's honestly so awesome that you guys are already here. You're already here. We're ready to get on with the show. What time is it? I know some of you guys were setting alarms to make this thing, and that is just unreal to me. So if you're wherever you are around the world, get in the chat. Let me know what time it is where you are. Patrick Cunningham, another one of the weirdos in the chat. Welcome. Thank you for being here. Also as well, before we get into the show, those of you who are channel members, so those are the guys with the little badges next to their name, you can use custom emojis. So there are a whole bunch of Polarity emojis that you guys can use right now in the chat. Now, they should all start with a Polarity something. Depending on what device you're using, you should be able to find them. But once you guys find them, let's go. I want to start seeing, I want to see some of these Polarity badges in the chat. 11:30 in the UK in the morning. We've got 6:30 a.m. I respect that. 6:30 p.m. Damn, we got people from all over the place here. 5:30 Central Time, 12:30 in Sweden. That is awesome, guys. Welcome once again. Now, like I said, it's actually been a pretty hectic week. We've got a whole lot of things. Well, we had you guys would have seen that yesterday, the 2-hour podcast went up with Mac Mazda. I mean, I'm interested to know what you guys think about that. We can get into that a little bit later, but it's been a hectic week. We've had Easter as well. So what I'm getting at there is that there hasn't been as much time to prep all of the things we're going to be looking at today. Yes, we're starting to get some emojis in the chat. There we go. Heidi Stanley's got the full range of emojis going on there. So I'm going to need your help today. I'm going to need some of you guys to pitch in here. Like I said, we've got the topics. We've got the kind of bare bones of what we're going to be looking at, but I intend to be bouncing off of you guys as well as we go. So, this is going to be a team effort, as I said. Now, the first thing I want to talk about is this Blue Star, what is it called? Blue Origin space flight with Katy Perry and a whole bunch of other people that I have no idea who they are. There's been, I'm sure you guys have seen, there's a whole lot of strange stuff about this that people are picking apart. Is it CGI? Is it like, what I'm most curious about is what is it for? Like, why? What is the purpose of this? Because it certainly is strange. I don't necessarily know if it's fake, but what I thought we'll do is I've actually found the original 20-minute video of the launch. So this is like the official footage that kind of went out there. And that's what we're going to look at. We're not going to watch the whole thing, but we're going to kind of skip through it and talk about it as we go. Now, I will say as well that this stream right now is pretty bare bones. And, you know, there's a few little nuances to it. So there may be times where my mic is muted or the video we're watching is muted, and that's okay. We'll make mistakes and we'll learn as we go. But feel free to get in the chat and let me know. If something's going wrong, tell me. Otherwise, I won't know. And I'll just look like an idiot in front of thousands of people. Yes, Chloe Cardelli with all the emojis. Celia Witten, Mick D. Yes, all the weirdos are here. I love it. Feminism is the purpose, nothing more. Okay, interesting. Well, let's take a look at it. So let's jump over here and let's pull up the video. So I've got a couple of little markers of things that I want to look at. I'm going to wind it back a bit here because, you know, I find this so far, it kind of feels like the moon landing to me in that I think this might be real, but some of the footage just seems off. So let's take a look at it. By the way, if anything's too loud, just let me know.
6, 5, 4, command engine start, 2, 1, ignition. Liftoff.
Done for Bozo's girlfriend. Okay, so that's the first part I want to show you guys. Something about that doesn't look right. Now, again, I'm not saying it's fake, at least not yet anyway. But you guys, most of you guys would know I have a background in visual effects. And something about this part here, as the camera is panning up, the camera pan stops. And the motion of this rocket, the way it continues, looks wrong. Okay, let's take a look at this again. There. So what are we at? We're at 50 seconds. If we pull it back to like 46. Ready? Wait for the camera pan to stop. Ready? That little bit there does not look right. What do you guys think? Are you seeing what I'm seeing here? Yeah, very weird behavior for the camera and the rocket itself. It's something about it does not look right. Now there's also, we can leave this on mute while we talk. So there's also a lot of famous people, I guess you could say, that are here at the launch. So I've seen a lot of people saying that like this whole thing is fake. I don't know if I agree with that because it just doesn't seem, that just seems like too much. That's a little too tinfoil hat for me. But there are elements of this that don't seem right. So let's skip along here. Yoshi Dinosaur, Mr. T, welcome.
328,000 feet, 100 kilometers. Welcome to space, ladies, or shall I say, astronauts.
Michelle, you're seeing a flying phallus. It's funny you say that because I think it was Jack Parsons that kind of saw the rocket as like some kind of metaphorical phallus in his occult rituals. So let's skip through here. Actually, here's the crew.
See that this live stream has briefly gone to black, and while we wait for it to...
That's another thing, is that you guys, if you've seen this live stream cuts in and out quite a bit, and there's like a lot of static audio. I don't get that because, I mean, it's not going very far into space, and this is all being put on by Jeff Bezos, who hosts Amazon Web Services. Like that, I don't understand the whole cutting in, cutting out stuff. It almost seems put on for the effect. Did you see the lady next to Bezos crying all crazy when they're taking off? Dude,
yeah,
there's way too many things that don't add up.
Look with you. These are the
Here we go.
6 astronauts on board.
6 astronauts. So actually, to be fair, I think one of them legitimately is an astronaut. I'm not sure which one. I think it might be Carrie Ann Flynn. I don't know. I could be wrong there. But it's funny that they're getting called astronauts.
We do see we have the live stream back up. Let's go back to that.
So here's the reusable rocket landing back in, which is impressive. Love from South Africa at 1240. Shout out Grant. Thank you, my man. Something funny. Lauren Sanchez also specializes in aerial filming and served as a consultant on Christopher Nolan's Dunkirk. Mate, of course, the UF Aussie is coming in with that hard, well done research on the situation. Welcome, mate. Thanks for being here. I think only one jet because they aren't going far enough into space. Yeah, exactly. So this space flight went into basically the lowest realm of low Earth orbit for about 2 minutes, I think. Correct me if I'm wrong in the chat. Dan the Man says this is absolutely a PR stunt. Everything is not genuine. It's the whole point is to get more contracts, more funding. Why all the free advertising? I think that's the big question that people have here is that, I mean, yes, people are going to question if this is actually real or not. I think it is real. There are elements of it that seem strange. Jared has just joined the members club and became a weirdo. Welcome, my brother. So yes, there are elements of this that seem strange, but I think the weirdest thing is that why? What is the real purpose behind this? That's what I don't think anyone quite understands. Heidi says, did anyone know about this prior to last week? Just curious because the lack of hype around it makes me question, is it being a PR stunt? I totally agree. It just makes no sense. Although one thing I do want to point out, and I'm sure most of you guys will understand this. So we had obviously the whole thing with Jake Barber come out recently where he had this psychic telepathic connection with this egg craft that he retrieved in a black operation where he says he felt he was connecting with the divine feminine. That's like the energy that he said he got. And this is, you know, where we start getting into the realm of like psionics and all that kind of stuff, right? That is almost verbatim what Katy Perry said when she landed. That she felt like she connected to a divine feminine energy. Now, this could just be two different people with two different experiences happen to use the same language. But it does seem like this is the direction that all kind of angles of media are sort of nudging. Do you guys think I'm reaching there, or do you think there's something to that? I think whatever's happening with Skywatcher and Jake Barber is, well, I think it's pre-planned. I know Reese, the UF Aussie, has a few thoughts on that as well. I think whatever we're seeing with Skywatcher is a plan that is already organized to a T until the end of December. Because they've said quite confidently that they're going to have definitive proof by the end of December. And I don't think you would say that unless you know something. It looks completely different from the William Shatner note. Katy Perry is a joke, bad joke with no punchline. All right, here's the landing of the capsule.
And you will see a puff of smoke when it touches down. A puff of dust.
That should be
That's normal.
a puff of dust, last milliseconds, air cushion that will kick up the dust. It's a very soft landing despite the sporty perception. There it is.
So when I first saw that, I thought that looks weird, right? It doesn't seem right. But as you heard there through the commentary, that's actually how would you explain it? Like an ejection of air to cushion the landing. So some people have been talking about that, saying it doesn't look right, but you can hear them explain that's what that is. And My Urban Exploration, thank you. Sorry, I missed your super chat. Is it me or the blue suits has a Fallout vibe? Look, I saw a whole thing about the suits on Twitter, And, you know, there are some people like grabbing the badge and flipping it upside down and saying it looks like some demonic entity and that it's all like symbolism for Satanism. Like, dude, look, you know, I love a conspiracy theory, but I just don't know about that stuff. That just feels a little too far removed. But hey, I could be wrong. What do you guys think about that? Are we reaching there, or let's keep going with this one? I think we can.
Capsule.
Exactly.
Right. So the capsule was sitting here for quite a while, and obviously the whole crew had to get there. I think, what's that? Is that like, what's her name? I'm going to butcher this. That's not, what is her name? She's the Kardashian mum, I think. Someone help me in the chat. Daniel Walmsley. That may be true, John, but the pole is moving. What are we referring to here? John says, even if a pole shift does happen, it ain't going to be how everyone thinks. You live on YouTube watching too many videos about the end of the world. The magnetic pole shift thing is definitely a big doomsday, bit of fear porn conspiracy theory. I don't really buy into it, personally. I saw a TikTok of a lady in military fatigues quoting the Skywatcher classification system claiming UAP were real. I think I saw this, Jared. I think I saw this. Either she was faking and plagiarizing, or Skywatcher is running off a playbook. I think they're running off a playbook. Now, I just want to check. Actually, give me 1 second here. Give me 1 second here, guys. Okay, that's better. So when you guys did super chats and you guys join, there should be an alert that comes up on the screen that shows your message. That reminds me, for those of you who are members, you should get, every time your membership renews, you should get a free super chat. So it's called a super chat, is when you either like add in like a donation to your message, and that way it comes up on the screen. You should, every month as a member, you should get a free one. So I don't know if that's going to work because this is the first live stream, but for those of you that are members, maybe try and see if you can change it to a super chat, and you should now be able to get your messages to show up on the screen if you make it a super chat. Chris Jenner, thank you. I thought that was the other one. No, that's Caitlyn Jenner. That's what I was thinking of, and I didn't want to get it wrong. So thank you for that one.
We're going to revisit that once it gets
okay.
That live stream is back up and
What's going to come is that.
So this is the bit that everyone's freaking out about here.
That still the weighing emotion, or is that still the weighing emotion, or is she still just, oh my God, I saw the stars, I saw the curvature of the earth. You know, what's going to come out of her mouth?
So there we go. The door starts to open from the inside, and then all of a sudden, you know, we're getting this and the stream starts cutting. Okay, we're not in space anymore. I don't know, you know, Jeff Bezos runs Amazon Web Services. I think the up and down speed should be pretty good. We're just in the desert here. We're not out in space anymore, yet we can't even get...
so we do have another live stream.
We can't even get good, clear video. Now, look, again, I don't think this is fake, but like anything, there are theatrics. And I think, you know, I think it was probably pre-planned, given that this is Jeff Bezos's, I mean, I don't know what you would even call this, his little show, that he is obviously organized to come in and open this capsule up. And maybe they tried to open it from the inside, and he was like, wait, that's for me. So I think that's all that is. And I think people are potentially maybe reading too far into that. There are also people talking about the size of the windows on the inside versus the outside. I honestly looked at that, and I don't think,
you know what?
I don't think there's much to it. I think what we're seeing here is real, but I think what feels fake is exactly, James. It's a PR stunt. And I think we're all too awake to just eat this shit up anymore, right? But that doesn't mean it's not real. It doesn't mean it's like a conspiracy theory. I think what we're seeing is the PR stunt side of it, and the theatrics, and the Jeff Bezos coming in to open the shuttle door, and then all of his beautiful 7 girlfriends come walking out. Like, I think those things are what we're seeing, and it just feels weird because it's not reality. So I think that's what's going on here. But other than that, this is probably just some weird flex from Jeff Bezos, and the theatrics are sticking out like a sore thumb. That's my verdict on the Blue Origin space flight. Let me know what you guys think. Temu Elon. Yeah, look, I think so. I think we can go with that. Jeff Bezos is the Temu version of Elon Musk. Doors shouldn't have been so easy to open from within. Yeah, look, that's a fair call. But who said it was easy? I mean, we couldn't see... We don't see the footage from the inside. All 7 of them could have been trying to wrench that thing open. Who knows? Just like a plane door. I've actually heard that plane doors, you know, the ones in the emergency seat that you obviously hope never have to open. I've heard that they open very easily because I guess in an emergency, you just don't want that thing to jam. So I don't think they're actually very hard to open. And obviously they have to be very secure and airtight and all of that. But I think if you want to open them, they will open. It looks like a massive bell end. That is a fantastic observation, Richo. Well done. $10 super chat from John Burton. Thank you very much. I appreciate the videos, brother. I've been watching the channel for a while. I like how you're skeptical and not shoving stuff in our face, telling us what to think. Thank you, mate. Look, of course, I'll never tell you guys what to think. I just think we should think. I just want to encourage you to think. And yeah, look, if I... like the same with the new Tic Tac video, right? I'm not going to make videos going, oh my God, it's a new Tic Tac that looks like 7 black pixels on a white background. Like, you know, as much as I want UFOs to be real and all that kind of stuff, like we all do, I'm not going to sit here and pretend something's amazing or interesting if it just isn't. Because, you know, I'm not about that. I'm not going to do that. You can't open doors inwards in a pressurized space, though. Okay, so yes, the inside of the cabin would have to be pressurized, but that's obviously done with a system, right? Now, Macca, I don't build planes, so feel free to correct me if you think I'm wrong. There would be a system that pressurizes the cabin, just like when you get a flight anywhere. You would think logically that that system can also depressurize the cabin, and that once they've landed, it would do that, and then you would open the doors. I don't know. That's just me trying to think logically here. What do you think? Why does he take so long to open it? Because he, you know, I don't know. Maybe he wants to be the guy, wants to make sure the cameras are there. Okay, Katy Perry's now kissing the floor. So this is when we get into the realm of theatrics again. Celia Witten, welcome, you weirdo. The whole thing is embarrassing and cringeworthy. Yeah, look, and I think that's the problem people have. I think people are feeling how cringeworthy and embarrassing this thing is, and then that is spawning conspiracy theories about it, which I don't necessarily think have too much merit. I think in reality, this thing is just cringy. It's weird. It's definitely curated to get viral moments and viral clips. And I think that's what people see, and that's why it's weird. Surely it was depressurized, or even they pre-opened it before the camera got there. Yeah, look, I would think so too. Okay, everyone's kissing the ground. This was, I'm sure that was organized, but I don't know. Have any of you guys ever hung around actors and actresses? I feel like they're probably very eccentric and theatrical people. And, you know, Katy Perry's like a superstar. I'm sure she's like, these people probably, without realizing, subconsciously would turn it up for the camera. That's just what they do, right? See if we can get a... Have I seen the crash test dummy hand? I have. I have seen that, and I don't have an explanation for that. That is weird. That is weird.
It's not working. So someone just tell me when we're on. Does anyone have RF?
All All right, and you just saw it there. All 6 astronauts coming out,
There you go, guys. You just saw it. All 6 astronauts. So I guess by that logic, if I put on a wig, I'm now a woman. If I want to wear a tail, I'm now a dog. I think that is the logic here. No, look, to be fair, one of them actually was an astronaut. I don't know about the rest. I know Katy Perry definitely is an astronaut, but I mean, that's the logic that we seem to be going by here. Why is she doing push-ups? That is a fantastic point. Look, like I said, there's a lot of theatrics going on here. And I think that's the problem we all have with it. Like, this shit is like, this type of media is so primitive and dated now. That's why no one watches this shit. And everyone who does watch it just goes, what the fuck is this? That's why I think YouTube is thriving, because people want real people. They want real media. They want real people talking about real things, not cringeworthy curated footage that's designed to get clicks and views and have viral sound bites. And I think that's literally just what this is. Did one of them look like she was wobbling as she was walking away? Maybe I didn't see that.
static.
I mean, I don't think after being in space for 2 minutes, it would cause you to wobble, but hey, I'm not an astronaut. G-Bay had no idea this happened. What, you really didn't know about this? Damn. What have you been doing? Mick D, it's an expensive fairground ride. Yeah, that's literally what this is. This is like a tourist want to come and look at space for 2 minutes. And I mean, who knows what the tickets cost for this thing, but I think you can literally buy a ticket. I'm sure it's quite a high being that high, though. There is an intrinsic danger to this kind of undertaking. In these women's defense, they were probably reacting accordingly. Yeah, for sure. So actually, look, why don't we, if I can find it here. No, I can't. Rip. So there was one of these, the one that's actually an astronaut, they had her footage. So she had her own personal footage of her journey, and that was like showing them taking off, showing them landing, and like her first person perspective. And that's what made me think that this is legit, because it just felt real. It looked real. And yeah, that's kind of what sold it for me. But I will say that the footage of them, you know, the footage of like Katy Perry holding up the flower and they're all kind of floating in the capsule. I think those are the things that feel weird, right? Because I feel like most of us would be glued to the window, probably enjoying the effects of low gravity, but like that view of seeing Earth in that perspective is like a once in a lifetime thing. So it was kind of weird that they're all just kind of up there with flowers and, you know, I don't know. But that's all, you know, that's purely just, that's all just speculation. That's just my opinion, I guess. It's a bit like that show Adolescence in the UK. If enough people say it's a documentary, people will accept it. Same with the astronauts. Yeah, fair play, Daniel. Great show, by the way. I really enjoyed that. Christina, oh yes, you have to start with a $150,000 deposit. Is that real numbers there, or are we just throwing figures around? Mick D says, yeah, I'm not saying it would be cool and awe. Yeah, dude, it would be totally awe-inspiring. It would be wild. It really would. So in a way, you know, who are we to sit here, you know, in our bedrooms and say, haha, look at them kissing the ground? You know, maybe it would be a very revelational experience. Tom Cruise will find a way to add it to his next film. After all, he did the vomit comet for filming The Mummy. I've never seen The Mummy, which is, it's one of those movies that I feel like I should have seen, but I haven't, unfortunately. There's quite a few of them though, right? There's what, like 3 or 4 in that series? I should check them out. My wife's an astronaut. I take her to space on my rocket. Well done, Stoney. Well done, mate. That is a fantastic chat there. Christina, yes, you went to the site. Could have ended like the billionaire's sub incident. Yeah, wow. Maybe Jeff hates his wife secretly. Well, look, I don't think this would have been done without a lot of test runs, precautions taken. But speaking of ending like the billionaire sub, I actually wanted to get into, maybe not just yet, but I wanted to get into the, what was it? The Hudson River helicopter crash. I know that's not technically this week, but I want to talk about it. Now, while we're talking about that, actually, I will say that all of the ideas for Weird Week come from our Discord, right? So if you guys don't have Discord or you don't use Discords, you should get it, because there is a channel every week where people can just post all of the weird stuff that they find in that channel. And then we kind of sort through that and pick what comes on the episode each week. So if you guys want to get involved in that, make sure you go to the link in the description, join the Discord, and that way you can get involved in basically picking what gets covered on the channel. Only the Mummy 1 and 2 are worth it. Okay, well, I'll start with number 1 and we'll go from there. That's with Brendan Fraser. Am I correct? What a legend. Actually, I think I have a Brendan Fraser sticker in my Discord, which is an extremely odd coincidence. All right, let's take a look at this next. Let's get into some UAP news. So, the big news in UFO land this week is that Representative Anna Paulina Luna finally has an update with the whole UFO stuff. So, this is what her tweet says. The inquiry into UAPs has been the biggest bipartisan intra-governmental investigation in US history. We look forward to the upcoming investigations and want to give a special thank you to Mr. David Grusch for providing advice to us. So you guys probably know that David Grusch, who testified in front of Congress in 2023, who's basically given secondhand testimony and evidence, from what we understand, in a skiff, to the fact that there is a reverse engineering program going on and that the US government, through private agencies and intelligence agencies, have their hands on reverse engineered, not only reverse engineered technology, but non-human biologics. By the way, get in the chat in what you think biologics means. Why aren't they saying non-human bodies? Why aren't they saying non-human beings? What do you think biologics means? The crash was terrible. I feel for the victims and their families. Yeah, it's a very strange crash, Jared, because from what I understand, basically the whole helicopter just disintegrated in the middle of the air, which is very weird. And it's very weird when it's, you know, it's never just a random person you've never heard of. I feel like it's always the CEO of a giant tech company, which was the case in this one. 4 a.m. in California, somehow randomly woke up, checked my phone, saw a notification you were live. It looks like I'll be taking a nap after the live. KZ, welcome, my man. Thank you for being here. Kat Simpson, you think it means body parts. So you think it means they have pieces of a non-human being that have been kind of the remnants of a crash? It means bodies and all the above. Exactly. Why don't they just say bodies? Biological androids. I think Rotosono, I think you're probably in the ballpark there. I think biological, I think something that seems to be not sentient, somewhere between like an AI robot and a human, somewhere in the middle is, I think, like we're talking about a very advanced AI robot. Anyway, let's keep going with this. So on April 29th, which is really, what's exciting about this is it's all very soon. So April 29th, they have a skiff briefing with UAP experts. So I'm going to assume that this is David Grusch. And then the very next day, or the next 2 days, they have a round table with these experts, officials, and members of Congress. And then about 2 weeks later, a full committee hearing on UAPs. So from what I understand, and correct me if I'm wrong, May 12th, or in that week, there is going to be another UAP hearing, just like last time. We're going to get another UAP hearing. So that's good. That's interesting. I was basically flaming these people the other day saying, why haven't we had another UAP hearing? And what do you know? We have another one. So what is really interesting about this is that now David Grusch is a part of the team. Now, we're going to get into Jesse Michaels in a little bit as well. But there have been some very I won't say well-sourced, but I think some very well-placed comments in Jesse Michaels' videos that he seems to be maybe getting his information, or at the very least getting advice potentially from David Grusch not only in the videos that he's releasing, but he sort of seems to be building some kind of timeline of events. And they seem to be, well, I mean, you know, you guys know Jesse Michaels. It's always very well sourced. The research is just on a whole other level. He cites all of his sources. and it's extremely thorough. But the level of knowledge that he's speaking with is, it seems like it's more than just Jesse that's putting these videos together. So the fact that now David Grusch is getting involved in Congress, I think what's going to be happening on Jesse's channel could continue to get very interesting. The guests that he's getting on, he seems to just be very well connected. That 2-week time gap gives them time to subpoena witnesses. Oh, mate, I hope so. That's what I said after the last hearing. I said at the next hearing, why isn't this like the head of Lockheed, the head of Northrop Grumman, like the CEOs, these people should be subpoenaed. Like, why are we wasting time here? We know where these things are kept. Get them in. Why are we messing around? Subpoena these people, use the full extent and capability of the law, and let's get the wheels turning. Hopefully we get more from this hearing than we did the last one. Yeah, 100%. The last one was... honestly, I felt like the last one was worse than the first one. The first one felt like something, but the last one felt like a bit of a charade. I don't know if you guys agree with me on that one, but something just didn't feel right. Is Jesse Jewish? I don't know. I can't give you an answer on that. If he was Jewish, I would say that would fuel an absolute shitstorm of conspiracy theories on Twitter. G-Bay, member for 3 months. Thank you very much. So I think what G-Bay's done there is utilized her free super chat. Okay, so like I said, if you're a member, you have a free super chat, you should be able to get your message up on the screen. Dog and Pony Show and the public is getting upset. Yeah, I think that was very clear in the last one. But it does feel like the whole UAP space is finally starting to get moving. Because remember, Ross Coulthard at the end of last year said, at the beginning of 2025, all hell is going to break loose. And, the Jake Barber thing happened, which was very big. But then everyone, I think, was kind of expecting the Trump administration to kind of come in and just start digging up ground straight away. But that really hasn't happened yet. A lot of people have said that he's been, the whole team has been focused on more economic stuff first, which does seem to be the case. What's happening to the economy is a whole other story. But there's definitely been work happening there. So let's hope that this hearing, this skiff in a couple of days, in a week, is the beginning. Well, I don't want to say the beginning of all hell breaking loose, but in reference to Ross Coulthard's quote, hopefully this is the beginning of whatever that is. Jesse has some shares in some kind of NHI tech company or something. Yeah, so there is a lot of people. Let me just brighten this up because I'm looking a little dark. There is a lot of people who have kind of clued on to the fact that Jesse, he doesn't really keep it secret, but Jesse Michaels is definitely has a financial interest in this subject. And he's kind of open about the fact that he's an investor, like a venture capitalist. Like look at the guests he has on, or he's had on. Even if you go back like 2 years ago, he's talking to people who are doing like big AI startups and all these kind of crazy companies in Silicon Valley. And, he was friends with David Grusch before anyone knew who David Grusch was. Like, he is extremely well connected in this space. So given the type of guy that he is and what his interests are, he is absolutely... No, I'm not going to say he has an ulterior... Okay, so this is where I think people might get tripped up. Just because someone is invested financially in something doesn't mean that there is like a sinister ulterior motive, right? A lot of people invest in things that they just genuinely believe in and are genuinely passionate about. And that could be the case. Like, I don't think it's like when people say, oh, he's just trying to sell a book, or, you don't believe him because he just wants you to buy the book. And look, while I understand that, like, that logic then says that if someone has a book, they're a liar or a grifter, my favorite word. And I just don't think that logic really works. It can in some cases. People can definitely just spin shit to sell a book. But just because you have a book, or just because you have shares in a company or a financial interest, doesn't mean your work and your passion and everything else you do around that is like full of bad intentions or something. Do you know what I'm saying? Jesse feels like controlled disclosure. Yeah, that's kind of what I'm getting at here, is that I think given Jesse's connections with people like David Grusch and, you know, the other insane guests that he just gets week after week on his podcast, these people could absolutely be using his channel as a form of soft disclosure, like you say. I agree, he's ridiculously smart, knows his stuff, and super interested in it, plus he has tons of money. Okay, well look, since we're talking about Jesse Michaels, let's jump to what I wanted to show about him. Now, to understand where I'm going with this...
You even find it with the UFO.
Okay, that's Area 52. We're going to get to that. Okay. Now, to fully understand what I'm going to be talking about here, I'm going to assume that you've seen my moon landing video. But no, to be honest, you don't need to have seen my video about it. You just need to understand the idea that the moon landing was potentially a psyop. And I know that sounds wild, especially if you haven't seen the video, but we'll watch this clip. Now, Jesse doesn't specifically say anything about the moon landing here, but given that I've been looking into it recently and I've been, you know, thinking about it and talking about it, this clip stuck out to me. So we'll watch it in just a sec. Jared says, Jesse and Chris are collaborating on a project together. What are the odds it could be related to the hearing? So you're talking about Chris Ramsey, yeah, Area 52. Do you know, is there any information about what that project is? I hear you, but if someone says they have a book, alarm bells start ringing. Oh, 100%, man. I think that's normal and healthy. I think that's healthy. But what isn't healthy is automatically assuming the negative, right? Just jumping to the, like, book equal grift. That's silly. But I think a lot of people do that. So yes, alarm bells good, but still critical thinking important. So excited, Josh. Are you going to talk about the White House announcement too? I'm totally fangirling right now with you live. Welcome, Yoshi. Look, I wasn't planning to talk about the White House thing, but we can. Obviously, I covered it in that video quickly. Look, I want to play this video, but I will just say it's being interpreted in a lot of ways. Even Ross Coulthart was kind of trying to downplay it a little bit. But, and I understand that, you know, I don't think it's like some announcement that like, okay, the UFOs are going to get rolled out tomorrow. It's not that. But to me, it definitely reads as kind of like an opening statement into where the vision or where the plan is to go. And some of the language, not just the whole time and space thing, but some of the language that was used in that was pretty telling on, you know, how they see the way things have gone or been and what they think needs to happen to change that. And, you know, even if we remove the whole time and space part of it, the vision on what they want to do is very promising and like empowering for Americans, I think. All right, let's get into this video just quickly. No, they only briefly mentioned it in Chris's recent interview with Jesse, and Chris made the comment that they had a video conference call that they had to attend after the interview. Interesting. Well, we'll have to keep an eye out for that one. We'll definitely cover it on the channel when it comes out. So let's check out this video. So before, I just want to give you a bit of context here. This is about Henry Kissinger and psychological operations, psychological warfare, and it's to do with the Cold War. And obviously, the space race was a big part of the Cold War. Okay, and Henry Kissinger was sort of involved in the psychological operation aspects of it. So there are no mention of the moon landing here, but I'm going to play it. I want to see what you guys think, and then I'll kind of go into more depth about what I think. Michelle, welcome. Thank you for becoming a weirdo. Can we get some Polarity weirdo emojis in the chat for Michelle? All right, let's check this out. I want to know what you guys think.
Apocalyptic stakes of the Cold War shaped his early career. Neil Ferguson's great biography highlights his deep interest in psychological warfare, the art of using propaganda, disinformation, and psyops to manipulate adversaries and allies alike. In the 1950s, this meant undermining the Soviets without direct confrontation. Kissinger didn't just theorize, he put these theories into practice. He authored reports on psychological warfare, and with his mentor, William Elliot, launched a series of international seminars at Harvard. These gatherings, backed by the intelligence community, aimed to cultivate foreign intellectuals as allies of American influence. At the same time, Kissinger maintained direct ties to the CIA, including contact with its chief, Allen Dulles. So his transition from military intelligence to academia wasn't a break, it was a continuation. But Kissinger's influence extended beyond Harvard.
This part.
In 1951, 1952, and again in 1955, he worked as a consultant for the Psychological Strategy Board and its successor, the Operations Coordinating Board. These high-level programs launched by Truman were designed to unify psychological warfare efforts across U.S. agencies. A declassified CIA document reveals the Psychological Strategy Board's core mission: winning hearts and minds through strategic influence. More crucially, it highlights how only a select few were deemed capable of staffing this new psychological warfare oversight body, whether they were pulled from existing agencies or recruited from outside the government. Kissinger, it seems, was one of them. The Psychological Strategy Board, or PSB, also has strong connections to the hidden history of UFOs. Philip J. Corso was a member.
Okay. So this guy was involved. I actually wanted to pull up the JFK speech, but we've all heard it. So this guy was involved in an operation in the late 50s. Okay, so this is just after the war, right when Operation Paperclip happened, right? So a whole bunch of Germans have come to America and been put into positions of power. Okay, engineers, scientists, getting put into the space program. I mean, I'm a broken record at this point, but I'll say it. Werner von Braun was the first director of the Marshall Flight Space Center. You know what I mean? It's like these establishments weren't just already pre-existing and then some Nazis got thrown in. Like, NASA essentially got created by assigning Nazis the top positions, which is just crazy, right? So this is in that era. This is in that Operation Paperclip era. They're talking about moving from warfare to psychological warfare. And obviously you've just come out of World War II. You don't want to be using tanks and guns. You want to move to psychological warfare. So the biggest way to get the up in the Cold War is psychological warfare, and to basically mess with the minds of the Russians. And he says there that the whole idea of the program was to not a big part of it was to win the hearts and minds of the American people. That's what it was about, right? So you've got the moon landing, which not only could be considered psychological warfare against the Russians to kind of flex on how superior their technology is, but also when you've just brought thousands of Nazis into America that no one really knows about because Operation Paperclip is a secret operation, you then have this operation, the moon landing, which just undoubtedly wins the hearts and minds of the American people. So it's like two birds with one stone. Any sniff of Nazis being in America, no one cares because, oh my God, we're going to the moon. And at the same time, you're making Russia sit down because you're flexing this wild capability that you have in, with computers that are less powerful than a modern calculator. So that's just something that I pulled from that. Just scrolling up here, Chris D, thank you for the $15 super chat. If they are serious about disclosure, they would talk to Salvador Pais and Ashton Forbes. Excuse me. I would love to talk to Ashton Forbes on this channel. I've talked to him quite a bit on X. I feel like he will come on the channel one day. He's reposted a lot of my content. We've talked quite a bit. He just hasn't said yes to coming on the channel yet, but it'll happen. We'll get there. I want to cover MH370 myself. I do want to do a deep dive into it. And if that's something you guys want to see, join the Discord, get into the content suggestion area. Like I said, there's a whole channel on our Discord where you can suggest content to come on Weird Week each week, but also deep dive content as well. So if you're not in the Discord, the link is in the description. Get in there, get involved with the community as well. Got a lot of Aussies tuning in now. Welcome, Josh Bartlett, Star Alone. Putin's reaction to the AI calling the moon fake is so good. Exactly. Yeah, so if you guys haven't seen my video on the moon landing, there's a clip there from 2023. Let's jump over here. There's a clip there from 2023 of the AI. It's basically like an AI convention. That's I don't know where it is, but it's in 2023 AI convention. All leaders from around the world are there, and they show Google's neural network, which is basically the power behind Gemini and all of the other AIs, language models. Google's neural network deemed America's moon landing photos as essentially fake or like manipulated or not, like something about them was wrong, compared to China's lunar rover photos, which they said were real. And when Putin sees that and gets told that, he's just kind of like, huh. It's like he knows. It's like he knows. And, you know, if you get into the work of Bart Sibrel, he says, and this is right, you know, whether this is actually true or not, who knows, but it makes sense, right? People say, why wouldn't Russia just expose it? Why wouldn't China just expose it? I think that's the small brain play. And we know China and Russia are not small brains by any means. The small brain play, the ape play, is to try and call them out in front of the world and make a fool of them. That's what the ape does. But the very complex orangutan would go to America and say, look, mate, we know that you didn't land on the moon. Okay, here's the evidence. It's quite obvious. Look, it's okay. We're not going to tell anyone. Relax. We're not going to tell anyone. But, you know, if you don't want us to tell anyone, pay up. Now, and I'm not talking financial. Yeah, if you don't want us to tell anyone, sit on it and rotate. No, if you don't want us to tell anyone, pay up. And I don't just mean financially, but I'm talking about some kind of tech exchange, something. Okay, there's something in it for them, and I think that's what the smart orangutan does. The ape just tries to scream and expose them, and we're talking about superpowers of the world here. They would not be behaving like apes, because apes don't become superpowers of the world. That's just the way it is. My very first memory is of watching the moon landing. I don't want to believe it was fake. Look, you know, there are people very close to me that feel the same way, that have all their life believed that it was real, and that accepting that it isn't is hard. It's hard. It's like, it's ontological shock. That is a soft ontological shock. That is experiencing what you have considered reality your whole life not right. And that's hard. That's shocking for people. Evidence point to it being suspect. Okay, so let's talk about this just a little bit longer. Someone made this comment on my video, and it's just so true. It was a brilliant comment. And that's why I love you guys getting involved in the videos and like this, because, you know, sometimes you guys make way better points than me. And that's the sick thing about having a community, right? So someone said to me on YouTube, you can go and find the comment. They said, like, the human reaction for me, I'll get to the comment in a moment. The human reaction for me is the biggest part that just does not sit right with me. And as this person pointed out, when Bart Sibrel sits down with these people and says, I've got some footage of the moon landing that's, you know, it's kind of sus. Do you want to watch it with me? Now, if there's nothing sus, I think a normal person says, yeah, sure, okay. Or, you know, if they say, hey, I've got some footage of the moon landing, do you want to watch it together? The moon landing for these people should be the biggest and greatest experience of their life. Like, you know, up there with marriage and children being born. Given the gravity, no pun intended, of it, it should be, I think it's probably bigger than that. Like, if you're the first man to go to the moon in mankind history ever, when someone says, hey, let's watch some footage of this, you should be like, you know, you'd be like, yeah, throw it on. You'd be reminiscing. You'd be, you know, commentating it moment by moment, pointing out all the little bits and the little things that you remembered, you know, maybe highlighting the little things that happened off camera at that time that you can't quite see, you know, like you'd be able to see that nostalgic beautiful, positive, reminiscing memory flowing through them, because this is them watching the greatest achievement of their life and of mankind, right? Like that's how it's just like people watching their first child being born. It's probably, it should be emotional. It should be very emotional to a degree, right? But instead, Buzz Aldrin wants to punch him in the face and Edgar Mitchell wants to shoot him and knees him up the ass. Like that doesn't mathematically compute as human behavior. That's not normal human behavior for someone who is meant to be seeing footage of the greatest achievement of their life. And I mean, look, if we're talking human behavior, the footage of those astronauts when they get back, the press conference that I showed in the video, I mean, that is so telling. Neil Armstrong looks like he has a gun to his head. He looks like he has a gun to his head and he's being told to lie to his wife and kids about, it looks like he's got a gun to his head and he has to tell his wife and kids that he doesn't love them and he wants to leave them and never see them again. That is what Neil Armstrong looks like when he's addressing the American public about the moon landing. And that's just not right. And then especially we've got the comparison interview of the astronauts who were just stuck in space, who were stuck in space for 9 months, and they land and they're just like, ha ha ha, woohoo, woohoo. Like, they don't care. They're stuck up there for 9 months. Shit went wrong. The moon landing went for 8 days, apparently. And they look like they're hostages. It's wild. Can I see some wilds in the chat, please? Celia Witten says they look gutted. Yeah, and also Buzz Aldrin is quite telling to me as well. And this is why I think Buzz Aldrin is the guy, right? This is why we don't ever see Neil Armstrong, because you can see in that interview, Neil Armstrong, he doesn't want to be that guy. He doesn't have the ego, the front for it. But if you watch Buzz Aldrin in that interview, even when he's not speaking, he is like back up straight, head tipped forward, laser eyes. Like he looks like a man on a mission who is not there to fuck around. And okay, so let's go back into the idea of what we were talking about before, about the fact that this is potentially a psyop, right? And that they wanted to move, because you know, the Cold War was a war. It was a war. It just never got hot in the sense of tanks and guns and whatever. But I think it was a war that was fought with psychological warfare. And I think it probably has a lot to do with the fact that this is when UFOs started showing up. Maybe they recovered some wild shit from the Nazis. And then there was this whole weird stalemate of like, how far have they gotten? They don't know how far we've gotten. And it's like this weird tense energy. So the reason why I think, and this is just me speculating, let me know what you think in the comments. The reason why I think the moon landing is fake, and the reason why the astronauts behave the way that they do, because I believe there is a potential that these astronauts were, you know, you could say enlisted, onboarded in a way to be a part of this psychological warfare operation, and it would have been done under the guise of just like a soldier, like, you know, you are, okay, let me put it to you this way. People sign up to be soldiers and are willing to kill other human beings in the name of their country. Okay, they're willing to go and remove someone else's son or daughter from the planet because they believe they're doing what is right for their country. Okay, so I think there is a pretty strong potential, given what we just heard about the whole psychological warfare kicking off around the late 50s, moving into the Apollo program, just before the Apollo program, that these astronauts were selected as to be psychological warfare soldiers. And what that means is they kind of had to perform an act to the public. And that might sound like very, you know, that might be hard to digest, but if like to lie to the public, but remember, people sign up every day to go and to fight and kill other people for their country. So what's actually harder to do? To just tell a white lie that you're told is a white lie for your country to win a Cold War? You're going to war psychologically for your country. I think that's way easier to do than actually go and remove another human's life from the planet for your country, which people do all the time. People sign up to do that all the time. So I think there is a possibility that Buzz Aldrin and Neil Armstrong or whatever were basically signed up and enlisted to kind of be like psychological warfare soldiers and do this in the name of their country to win the Cold War and also to win over the hearts of Americans. Polly Doom says, I am a soldier. I didn't sign up to kill somebody. You're wrong. So look, the terminology I use there may be a little bit direct. You probably don't sign up to do that. No, you sign up to protect your country. But to protect your country, you have to be willing to do that, right? That's part of being a soldier. Okay, so you understand what I'm saying. This is the problem with secrets. It just snowballs and people start guessing all kinds of things. So Mick, are you referring to my take here on the moon landing? The amount of thought you've put into this is concerning. Unplug and go start a family. Be present. None of this shit matters whether it's true. Well, look, what matters is totally subjective, right? What matters to you might not matter to me. Look, I'm not emotionally invested in the moon landing, and that's why I'm quite happy to talk about it. And a lot of people because this is kind of like lightly in the realm of 9/11, where people are quite emotionally invested. So as an Australian, especially, I'm not very emotionally invested in the moon landing. So I feel like I can look at it quite objectively. And the one thing that sticks out to me is the behavior of the astronauts. Like, you can't argue with the way they were post Apollo program does not align with people who have done the greatest achievement of mankind in history. It just doesn't align. So when we look at the other things that have gone on around that time, the theory that I've just posed to you and the fact that psychological warfare was well known to be used in that era and, you know, probably still is today, to win the Cold War and win the hearts and minds of the American people, as we just heard in that Jesse Michaels clip, was the goal of it. I don't think that those are, you know, they kind of all make sense to me. Let me know what you think, though. Let me know what you guys think in the comments. Was comments in the chat as well. You make points and good ones. That's it, Mick. Look, I'm not telling you this is fact. I'm just telling you what I think and what I, like the dots that I'm connecting. Polly, you're not murderers. No, absolutely not. Absolutely not. And that's not what I was insinuating either. Like I said, what my point was, when you sign up to be a soldier, you are essentially willing to take another life to defend your country. That is what you're doing. So my point to compare that to someone being a psychological warfare soldier is that they then have to potentially lie to their own country. And I actually think lying is a lot easier to do than potentially taking someone else's life. But let me know what you guys think. The psychological warfare is at a higher level than regular soldiers. I do understand what you're saying, but it's not like that. Mick says, just not sure. I think it's fake from other videos of technology and the amount of effort from thousands of people and companies. Yeah, look, it's a weird one. I used to think that we did go, but the footage was fake, and that may still be the case. You guys know me. I'm not married to any of these ideas. You know, I just like to chat shit and, you know, spit some theories out and see what you guys think. You know, I'm not here trying to tell you that we never went to the moon. I'm just letting you know what dots connect for me. Mr. T says, sadly, no one remembers the dogs and monkeys who made those trips first. Yeah, that's right. That is right. They did put animals into space and they, like you said, RIP. So, you know, maybe that was a good reason why they actually never went. Another thing that gets me, though, and we'll move on from the moon landing in just a moment. The other thing that gets me, though, is the fact that they actually went there like 9 times in 3 years. So that's like a trip every couple of months. And again, we're talking about technology that was less powerful than a calculator with storage that couldn't store one of those weirdo emojis that you guys are using in the chat. So, like, it's hard, right? It's hard to think about that. 9 times with technology less powerful than a calculator, couldn't even store an emoji. They did it 9 times in 3 years. Why haven't we done it since? I mean, we just watched this rocket launch, and they couldn't even maintain a steady stream. And we're in 2025 with Jeff Bezos's Amazon Web Services. They couldn't even stop the stream from cutting out. You know what I'm saying? This shit just doesn't add up. Maybe we met ETs and they had to fake the rest. Yeah, I know. That's a very, very popular theory, is that we did go to the moon, and what we saw there either told us or made us not ever want to go back. That's a very popular theory. So what do we want to look at next? Let's look, while we're talking about podcasters, let's go with Area 52, okay? So, Nick Pope was recently on Area 52's podcast. So if you don't know who Nick Pope is, he was basically the guy that investigated UFOs for the British government. It's because they destroyed the tech, remember? Yeah, of course, right? Because whenever I build something that breaks new ground in mankind, I make sure I destroy it before I make a new iteration of it, because that makes sense, right? Whenever you build something good, you destroy it, of course. Ronald Reagan made a landline call to the moon. Yes, exactly. This was all done with landline technology and calculators. Actually, I think so. In my video, I looked at Don Pettit. Don Pettit is the astronaut that said we destroyed the technology to go to the moon. And I think I just saw a video like yesterday or today of him coming back from the space station or something like that. I don't know if any of you guys have seen that. Oh man, it's already been an hour. This is awesome, Josh. Keep doing what you're doing. Thank you, Yoshi. Appreciate you, bro. Always see your messages on X. Four Orbs is making the rounds. He's going to end up on Rogan in the next month. Dude, when Ashton Forbes goes on Joe Rogan, that will be big. That will be a very, very big episode. And, you know, I think if Ashton is ever going to come on this channel, I need to get him on before he does Rogan. Because when he does Rogan, you know, he's on that level. And then it's like, you know, you're not going to be coming down to these channels when you've done Rogan. All right. Hollow Moon theory is wild. The evidence of rust and it ringing like a bell is crazy. Yes, Heidi, that is a very interesting theory. The whole ringing like a bell thing. Did you guys watch Jason Giorgiani on Danny Jones' podcast? Man, I love that guy. His theories are wild, but he's very, very captivating. They don't have any of the original tech or the original video footage. Very strange. I know, right? Greatest achievement of mankind. You know, unbelievable feat. Yet we've just deleted all of it. Oh, okay, cool. Do you also delete your wedding videos as well? Polarity Josh on Rogan. Maybe one day. Okay, so this clip I want to show you guys. I don't want to tell. Well, if you already know what it's about, that's fine. I'm not going to tell you. I want you guys to listen to it, and I want you to give me your theories, and I want to see if anyone is thinking what I'm thinking when I first saw this video. Okay, because I feel like maybe Nick Pope is a little bit off the mark. Hello from Brazil. Hello, Paulo. Welcome to the stream. This Nick Pope interview was really good. It's really important for us to listen carefully to the old boys. I 100% agree. My favorite clips in the UFO space are from like the 70s and the 80s. Like, that's what the stuff I really like to look at. And that's why pretty much the favorite video I've done on my channel is where we sort of started off looking at Colonel John Blitch and the wild stuff he was saying. And then we moved into Commander Sergeant Robert Dean and that old lecture. I really loved that video. Giorgiani's theory about dark matter was mind-blowing. Are you talking about the like data, how data has weight and that exponentially, like we're going to have a planet that is as heavy as, what did he say? I think he said as heavy as the moon in like 300 years. Giorgiani's political goals, oddly, are exactly the same as the neocons he attempted to discredit. Also, he's a student of Heidegger, Nazi philosopher, and Nietzsche, a teenager thinker, not even a philosopher. Older stuff is great. Giorgiani is a boss. Yeah, I really enjoyed it. The first time I ever heard of him was his first interview on Danny Jones, where he was talking about how they've got pilots that are like test flying these reverse engineered craft, but the biggest problem they're having is the time dilation, and that these pilots are like super disorientated and they're struggling to work out how to deal with that. which was crazy. So after I heard that, I was like, damn, who is this guy? And then the most recent one, yes, that data problem. So basically, if anyone hasn't heard it, right, his theory is that data has weight. It has a very minuscule weight to it. For example, on your hard drive, if you've got an external hard drive, two terabyte hard drive, if you filled it with data to the brim and you weighed it on a very, very sensitive scale, it would have, okay, so you weighed it and then you deleted it, wiped it clean and weighed it again, there would be a small difference in data. Okay, so it's essentially, in weight. And the theory is that data has weight, but the amount of data that we kind of have and use right now, it's just not noticeable. But as we know, it's Moore's law, I believe, where every 2 years computing power doubles, so does kind of the amount of memory and storage that we use and need. And that if we follow Moore's law and that exponential curve of data requirements, that in about 300 years, the amount of data on the Earth will have the same weight as the moon. And that will create a lot of problems. Like it will essentially start making, it will mess with the gravity of the planet, and that the oceans will start, going crazy. And that's when we'll probably have the Younger Dryas version 2. I think the moon is an artificial star. Yeah, a lot of people think, yeah, okay, look, you know what's really weird? And if anyone has a good reason for this, then let me know. What's really weird is that the moon and the sun, which are so vastly different in size, happen to be the same size in the sky. So, a lot of people will be like, oh, well, one just happens to be this far and one is this far. Yes, no, I understand that. I understand mathematics and how that works. But the fact is that for them to land on that, where they're both the same size, it's like, what, winning the lottery? Am I weird, or is that kind of odd or kind of weird? Let me know what you think. Do I need a tinfoil hat on for saying that? Jared says that makes a heck of a lot of sense. If you're psionically interfacing with a craft performing time dilation, what would that do to your brain? 100%. It's a coincidence? Oh, just another coincidence, right? So many coincidences. Just like how the security cameras didn't work when Jeffrey Epstein got... no, sorry, he didn't get killed. He committed suicide. It's a bit too coincidental. Yeah, I think so too. We're all weird. Exactly, Eddie. That's why we're here. Why doesn't the moon rotate? Yep, 100%. So, okay, you want a real fringe theory that I probably need to equip a tinfoil hat for? And look, this is basically based off of the artwork of the dark side of the moon, but like I have wondered if somehow the moon, because the moon is obviously important, right? It helps balance the oceans and the seasons and all that kind of stuff. I wonder if it has anything to do with streaming consciousness or some form of like sentience to life on Earth. Now, this is just a wildly fringe theory. I don't have any evidence to talk to you about this, but when we look at the dark side of the moon cover art, and I'm not basing this theory off that, by the way. I had this theory and then I saw that cover art and I was just like, that kind of looks like exactly what I've thought about in my head, that the moon could be involved in somehow like creating sentience on the planet or building the reality that we actually see and are interacting with. The moon is a cloud server for the soul. I like it. It's part of the soul trap. Yep, definitely could be. Tinfoil hat time. Yes, that's right. I mean, you should never come to a Polarity live stream without a tinfoil hat in your pocket, at least, ready to equip. You should actually keybind your tinfoil hat equip button. So it's just handy. Okay. You don't want to have to be like opening your inventory and equipping it. You want that on a keybind. It's essential gear that you need in this live stream. Please no soul trap, Courtney Brown. You totally based it off the cover art. No, I didn't. I saw the cover art and I was just like, wow, that really aligns with like some wild thoughts that I've had before. And it makes me wonder about that because, and I've talked a lot on this channel about artists and where they get their inspiration from. Is it just random ideas that pop into their head, or is there meaning to it? Does it come from somewhere? Gamer chat, that's right. Thank you. I'll always throw in the little eggs for the gamers. It's the Death Star. Like, it definitely could be. All right, let's get into this clip. So I want you guys to listen to Nick Pope's story here, and I want to hear what you guys are thinking of it in the chat and what you think it could be. Let's check it out.
Research, isn't it? It's like, yeah, I have a case. It's the little greys on a table. Some of the cases that I got were not like that. There was one.
Can you go into them? Yeah, that would be great.
Well, one to answer your question about that left an impression on me was it wasn't really an abduction, but it was an encounter with, I guess, beings. A particular woman who I got to know quite well had this experience that a whole bunch of apparently, normal-looking people all walked into an art shop in central London, started looking at all the produce, were there for like a long time, and she just felt there was something weird about these people. And then after a long time, they made a big show of coming up and buying a single pencil, like it was like a big thing. And then they handed over a very high denomination banknote. And when the woman went to give them their change, they looked confused, like they didn't understand the concept of getting their change bag. And she was so struck by this that she phoned somebody afterwards, and in fact during this whole thing, and said, there are aliens in my shop. And that's the kind of surreal nature of these encounters that sometimes doesn't even come out in the literature, because I think sometimes ufologists self-censor because they say, look, everyone knows what an alien looks like, everyone knows what an abduction is, it's a very structured.
So what are we thinking? What are we thinking about that? He's touching on something wild here, the fact that non-human intelligence could be walking among us. Yes, that is what he's touching on. But I want to hear, does anyone have any theories on what they think is maybe going on there? Hello from Toronto, Canada, 7:48 a.m. Freddie, welcome, my brother. Thank you for tuning in. Keith Burton says, that's a great name, by the way. Keith Burton says, I want to see a reptilian. Me too. Well, if they're friendly, I wouldn't mind meeting Lacerda. Maybe they were Amish. Okay. Good old Bob Dean sure believed this. He absolutely did. My initial take was that the sizes would be different from different places on Earth, but they're so far away that it doesn't matter where you are. Eddie Kane, I want that pencil. Never any good CCTV footage. Every time I pay for fuel, I'm confused about my change. Bro, if you're still paying with cash in 2025, what are you doing? They like to draw. I think Nick Pope tries to be as honest as he can be, though many think he's a gatekeeper. Well, the thing is with Nick Pope is, I mean, Nick Pope wrote the Terrible Truth article, right? I think Nick Pope knows. Nick Pope is one of the people that knows, I think. I mean, to write the Terrible Truth article, and he has been on record saying he thought people were ready for disclosure, but then COVID made him change his mind. So, I mean, it doesn't explicitly say that means he knows, but I think he knows more than he lets on, at least. The sofa, welcome, my friend. Cash is key. Yeah, look, I mean, I don't want to live in a world without cash, don't get me wrong, but like, I'm not carrying that shit around, dude. I'm using my card. Much easier. Lizard people in a human suit. Okay, look, no one is on the same realm as me right now with what my take is on this. Graphite could be rare in other galaxies. True, Lucas. Why did COVID cause him to change his mind, though? Look, I'm going to say it might have had something to do with everyone ransacking the shops for toilet paper, maybe. Like, you know, anytime there's a sniff of an emergency, you can't buy toilet paper now. It's fucking annoying. Perhaps they felt like they had to do an offering of some kind in order to utilize the facilities, and the concept of currency was alien to them, and change would have been even more so. The Lacerda files were great to listen to. Thank you, man. I'm glad you enjoyed them. You've been here the whole time. Good to hear. Welcome. Okay, so my theory, to me, this is the first thing that I thought of when I heard this story. is that what this woman actually saw was a group of people absolutely loaded up on acid. Anyone ever been loaded up on acid and tried to go to the shops? Because the way he describes that story sounds like someone who is just struggling to process base reality because their perceptions have been blown into another realm. Like, when he was explaining that, I was just like, this is literally just a group of kids on an acid trip or mushrooms. They've probably, like, because remember, it was at an art museum. It was at an art museum. That's somewhere where is like worth going if you're, you know, tripping out. Maybe, you know, go check out some cool art. That's totally reasonable. And, you know, I could just picture standing around with some friends and they're all like, let's get a pencil. And then it's like, fuck, I don't want to go buy it. I don't want to go buy it. And then they all kind of go up together. Like you said, they all made a big deal out of buying it. You could just picture like these 9 kids just absolutely out of their mind trying to buy a pencil, and they're all probably like staring at the cashier, all tense and out of it. And then when they hand change, like, and then when the cashier hands them back change, it's probably like a whole new realm of reality. Like, oh my God, she's giving back to us. What does that mean? As much as I would love it to be some kind of human alien hybrid, which everyone was saying in the Area 52 comments, to me, I was just like, this is probably just some like Christian lady who doesn't do drugs, who's just seeing a group of kids on an acid trip here. This is unfortunately not as crazy as we think. LSD will do that, or so I've heard. Yeah, sure, Kat. Sure. So I'm kind of getting the vibe that few people are on board with that theory. It makes a lot of sense, right? That makes way too much. I mean, it makes a lot more sense than alien hybrids walking into an art store to buy a pencil, doesn't it? Seems like the most plausible explanation. I think so too. She gave me these tiny CDs that don't have music on them. If they didn't want change, the storekeeper would have kept the large denominations. Love your work, Josh. Thank you, Heather. That is a good day out in London. You tripped on acid and a heap of other stuff. You don't really think so. That's fair enough. Look, I've had my experiences, and to me, I was like, yep, that sounds like how I would behave in that situation. All right. What else we got here today? Love your channel, new sub. Thank you, man. Welcome. So I said I wanted to get into the helicopter crash, but honestly, I don't really have much prepared for it. I have a video of just the crash, which we can look at. Let's look at it and talk about it. I want to hear what you guys think, because, like I said, I haven't had a good chance to dive into this yet. So if you guys know a little bit more, get in the comments and fill me in here. Let's check this video out.
Thomas, we're having, we want to warn our viewers, we are getting some video of the moment of impact. This is disturbing video. We do want to show you, as we do know this investigation is just going to get
look
underway.
at that.
There's bad acid and good acid. I think there's just bad frames of mind and good frames of mind.
That would suggest to me they had lost all aerodynamic forward momentum. That is just astonishing. Very often in helicopter crashes, they try to auto-rotate down. In other words, they try to use the blades as almost a feathering device that allows them to...
Like, this thing just disintegrated. This thing just disintegrated in mid-air. That, like... It just doesn't... Like, that does not happen. And the fact that it's a CEO of Siemens, I believe, like... I don't know if Siemens is a German company, but I'm pretty sure he was like, involved, like the head of Siemens in Germany. And the whole family gone, which is crazy.
Land safely. That is completely out of control. That is going down like a rock. I don't see any air. And look at that. It looks as if, maybe as you play it, are the blades moving or not? It almost looked like the blades...
It's hard to tell.
It's hard to tell.
CEO was taken out. I mean, it's just another one of those coincidences, isn't it? It looks like a catastrophic rotor failure. Yeah, I think catastrophic is beginning to explain the level of just how wild this is. Siemens is a massive company. Yeah, 100%. They're massive. And this guy was, from what I understand, in charge of the German facet of the whole business. But it's a global company. Now, does anyone know, is this the only footage of the crash? Because you don't seem to actually see the helicopter. Like, you don't see it begin to happen. It seems like the first frame, it's already in like 5 pieces. Apparently it fell apart. Siemens would have choppers extremely well maintained. Yep, I reckon taking him out. Kind of reminds me of the helicopter that flies over Chernobyl and just melts in the sky from the radiation. I have not seen or heard about that. Yoshi says, no, there's more. Look, if you've got a good YouTube link, throw it in the chat. I haven't sussed out the YouTube moderation stuff yet. Hopefully it lets you put a link in there. The tail separated, I think main rotor failure could account for that. I mean, yeah, that is catastrophic failure. How does that happen? And by the way, Bella, who said Siemens would have choppers extremely well maintained. I don't think this is a Siemens chopper. So this is obviously the Hudson River. This is in America. From what I understand, this is a guy and his family on holidays just going on a scenic tour flight. So this is, the helicopter's nothing to do with Siemens. If it looks like a duck, walks like a duck, it is a duck. Very true. He was the head of Siemens in Spain, which is a German company. Right. Okay, cool. Thank you for clarifying that, Rashid. Mick says, would definitely be comms, energy, and data, etc. type of company. Exactly. In the industries where, you know, breakthroughs are suppressed, there's like, seems to be a monopoly, but also like a constriction on the things that are allowed to come in and out. Italian yacht incident was a big player taken out. Yes, I remember that. The Discord, yes, get in the Discord. The link is in the description. You can suggest, if you see cool stuff that happens through the week, you can put it in the Weird Week channel and we'll cover it at the end of the week. But we also have a suggestions channel where you can drop stuff and people in the Discord can vote. And that's the stuff that we'll do deep dives into. It's possible the pilot pushed the chopper beyond its limits. I mean, this is the test flight though, dude. You know, is that really happening on a test flight? That just feels like a strange thing to happen on a test flight. They said the whole motor came off with the rotors. Yes, exactly. I heard that too, which is like, yeah, this isn't just like a little whoopsie. This is like it's like the chopper's been tampered with or something like that. I don't know that. I'm just saying, you know, this is weird. Siemens know about pyramids, electronics, and the good stuff. Maybe devices that can bend time and space. Yes, Mick D. You could be in the realm. I've seen another video on YouTube which looks like the rotor blades come away. How true is it? I don't know. Yeah, I think I have heard that too. So look, I just wanted to cover that really just to get some information from you guys, because that was one thing that I hadn't really had a good chance to look into. And, you know, it's still early days with that stuff. You're never going to get, like, total truth. It's all just murky. Dan Garden, welcome to the stream, brother. A weirdo is in the chat. Yes, very weird. Rotor blade was separated from the helicopter. Yeah, it certainly seems that way. All right, so we've got one more thing I want to get into. By the way, like I said at the start, we treat this like a Q&A. If you guys have any random questions, feel free to hit me with them. I'll do my best to answer them. But we have one more thing that I saved to the end, and this is the absolute tinfoiler. Like I said, you should have your tinfoil hat keybound, because these are items you need regularly when you're in these parts of YouTube. So if we could all just equip the tinfoil hats, because we're going to be talking about we're going to watch a video of a remote viewer who allegedly has remote viewed a Stargate in Iraq. And the reason why this is interesting is because, you know, I've seen people say, obviously the whole idea is that America invaded Iraq under the premise of they had weapons of mass destruction, but they actually didn't. but there is ideas out there, and this kind of feeds into that, is that they actually did have a weapon of mass destruction, but it just wasn't the conventional nuclear weapon that everyone thought it was. And it was potentially something like a Stargate. Now, I know that sounds absolutely cooked, and that's why I said you better have a tinfoil hat on. But again, this is a remote viewer who's saying this, and the CIA takes remote viewers seriously. We know that. They have since the 70s. So I'm not saying let's just lap this up and believe every word of it, but it's interesting and we can talk about it. So where are we? Let's check this out. And there you go. You got the reptilian sticker. We collected that one ages ago. We got another one on the last video, actually. But anyway, yeah. So there's a lot of people talking about the Tomb of Gilgamesh, and yes, that is a whole thing. I wish I had these things handy, but there is that famous report that the Tomb of Gilgamesh was found, and then it basically wasn't that long after that America invaded Iraq. And there are still today, you can find news stories of like from only 5 or 10 years ago where it's like America is giving back 10,000 artifacts that they took from the Iraq invasion. Apparently they set up a base around where the Tomb of Gilgamesh was found. And these kind of ancient, kind of religious, prophetic old gods and things like that had a lot to do with the Iraq invasion. The modern man-made Stargate or an ancient lost Stargate. Oh, sorry, a modern man-made Stargate or an ancient lost Stargate. Tamara, welcome to the chat. You had a bit of a sleep in. That's okay. There'll be many more of these. See many comments from vets saying they guarded Stargates in Afghanistan as well. In comments on the Sean Ryan podcast, I noticed it over a period of time a few months ago. Wow, Moonlight, that is very interesting. I mean, the Sean Ryan show is a whole other can of worms, but that is very interesting. And yeah, I've heard a lot of similar things about people questioning why they were really in Iraq and Afghanistan. Whoa, build on sound. I didn't even make that connection. That is very interesting. That they possibly remote viewed a star, like the whole remote viewing program was called Project Stargate. I didn't even think that, dude. That is very interesting. I mean, sometimes, they do just use random names for these things sometimes, but very interesting. And also what's interesting is that there's like a show called Stargate, and you guys know I talk about on this channel so much that they make look, this is just my theory, but I think there is a lot of media that is intentionally created with bits of the truth dripped into it. So when people potentially discover it, it's just so easily able to be dismissed as like, oh, okay, you watched the show Stargate and you think it's real, you're a fucking lunatic. But then you've got whistleblowers coming out saying, oh yeah, we had a project in the CIA called Project Stargate where we remote viewed a Stargate. So it's like, what is going on here?
Well,
I told you we need to get our tinfoil hats out, guys. Yes, there are reptilians involved here. This aspect definitely makes the whole thing very hard to digest for some people, and I totally understand that. But these are what alleged whistleblowers from Project Stargate are talking about. 200 people in here. Wow, that's so awesome. I can't actually see how many people are in here. I have no idea. So that's awesome to hear. 60 likes. Come on, guys. If we all hit the like button, if we all put in a bit of work, we make big changes, okay? Everyone hits the like. I believe that pushes the stream out to more people. Heidi has used her monthly super chat, which all members have, and is telling you, hit the like button, y'all. If you're a member, you get a free super chat every month. James makes a good point. I think the whole focus on America becoming like the world power the world leader when it comes to AI innovation is Project Stargate. It's a new iteration of Project Stargate. Again, coincidence? Who knows? Who knows? We just got the announcement about bending time and space. Sounds pretty that sounds exactly what like Stargates do. Not that I've ever used a Stargate, but 90 likes now. Okay, we're making progress. Let's go, guys. It's one click. Thumbs up. Let's do it. Does anyone feel like that these 3D animations of a reptilian being actually are detrimental to the case. I feel like they do more bad than they do good. Kendra's got a super chat. Hitting the like is free, y'all. Punch your ticket when you enter. Thank you very much. What are my thoughts on Jason Giorgiani? We actually spoke about him earlier. We talked about him for a little bit. I think I love him. I think he's a captivating speaker, very well researched. He's got some crazy theories. Particularly, we spoke about his dark matter theory and how exponentially the weight of data on Earth is going to cause problems unless it's solved via AI or something like that. But yeah, I love him. I love him. Maybe one day we'll get him on the show. Kat Simpson, hit the like button, peeps. Doing a great job, Josh. Thank you very much. Yes, that's it. Smack that button. Still can't shake the feeling I'm wasting my time looking at this stuff. I mean, it's like watching 10,000 teaser trailers for a movie coming out in 10 to 30 years. Yeah, dude, I don't think you're alone with that. I think we all have our moments where we get a bit like frustrated and burnt out. I certainly did a few videos ago. And I think that's normal, right? I think that's totally normal because it is frustrating. But I think when we zoom out, at least in the last 12 to 24 months, it really does seem like there is some progress happening. And I think it's showing us that, like 10 years ago, it felt like this cover-up was like, it was like, oh, the government don't want to tell us, the government. But I think we're kind of realizing now that like the government, like this is way deeper than that. Like the government don't even know what's going on. That's how deeply woven this cover-up is. And that's why it's been so successful. And that there are people, it's not just being covered up from up here and everyone below is trying to find the truth. It's covered up from up here. And there are random little moles down here helping keep it down there. So I think that's also why it's been so successful. You wouldn't want to meet Lacerda if she looks like that? No, absolutely not. Giorgiani's blowing my mind lately. Look into what he's saying on religion. Religion as a whole was invented by the NHIs to keep humans complacent and scared. Yeah, look, I think that almost feeds into what Robert Dean has said as well. We've covered him on the channel too. What about those damn FFA drones? I know, right? I know. You're out, Das Sofa. Happy Easter, brother. Thank you for dropping in. Appreciate you, bro. Halfway through here. I just want to say something. Does anyone, and I can't really explain, I think it's the hosts. Does anyone get a weird feeling about Gaia? And it's not that like I think they're disinformation or I think it's a lie. But like, it just, something feels off about the interviews. I don't know what it is. And it's not this guy. I think this guy seems authentic to me. Seems like he's telling his truth. I don't know if it's like the production value. But I feel like always the hosts, the guys that ask questions, they just seem odd. I don't know. Am I alone with that? Is that a me thing or is anyone? Yeah, okay. So I'm not alone on this. Kendra, Jared, Kat, everyone feels the same. And I think after the whole Corey Good thing, that really kind of just threw them into the dirt. But again, I don't think that means everything on there is a Corey Good story. But like, I don't know who this guy is that's asking the questions, but he doesn't seem like a CIA op, but it's just like, I just think like, why this guy? Couldn't you have gotten someone better that doesn't make it feel weird? I don't know. Bella, you've got a tad weird vibe from Gaia too. Yeah. Whenever I hear Gaia, I think Scientology. Is there a Scientology connection there? That would be interesting. Gaia's production is so weird. Okay, I'm glad I'm not alone. Collective intuition is strong here. I agree. I think just like sort of the Katy Perry video, everyone feels like something's just not right. Again, it doesn't mean it's fake, but like everyone just gets this vibe that we can't quite really put your finger on, but everyone can sense it. And like, what is that? Is that intuition? Is that like a sixth sense that we don't really sort of have like a really good name for? But like everyone can feel it. Everyone can feel that this Gaia video feels a little bit weird. Not just because of the subject matter, but just, it's this guy for me. This guy asking the questions is weird. Stargate 1 was a documentary then. Look, I think some people have been saying I need to watch Stargate in the chat here. I haven't seen it. I'm assuming it's about Stargates. And like I said, I feel like they intentionally talk about these things in fictional media to muddy the waters. I mean, it's the perfect disinformation tactic. Rashid says, it's a lizard's maze, not a rabbit hole. I like it. It's got evangelical TV vibes. Yes, 100% Roto. Rick Doty is all over Gaia. That's the red flag for me. Is he really? I had a Gaia subscription for a little while, but I honestly didn't use it too much because I just don't watch much TV, but I didn't see him on there. Also, while we're here, Josh, can you put us out of our misery and tell us if you got anything out of the claw machines in Japan? I certainly did. I certainly did. Look, I know I've been meaning to get that second Tokyo video out, and I will do it. There's 3 more Japan videos to come in the members section. I just need to do it. Okay, I probably need to just dial back on the editing a little bit and just make it a bit more raw because I'm not a quick editor. I don't really love editing. That's why I want to do live streaming because I don't have to worry about that. But yes, they're coming. They're all up in the shelf. They're all up in the cupboard right now. Maybe I'll get them out another time. Katy Perry may be getting paid. Mate, I'm sure Katy Perry has made a healthy sum of cash from that ordeal. Hey, Polarity. Chris, welcome to the stream, brother. If you know, you know. Stargate is absolutely fabulous. Stargate Atlantis even had 0-point modules. Interesting. I'm still pissed that Stargate Universe didn't get a second season. It was a television sci-fi series. It was sort of neat. Yeah, well, I think they leak little bits of the truth through all of those kind of things because it's just plausible deniability.
And
so he's saying that Saddam Hussein was told, like the dictator of a country was basically got his orders about leaving this Stargate alone. I mean, this, as hard as this all is to believe, and I'm not saying I believe it, I would much rather believe that this is true and the invasion of Iraq was for a reason, that there was some weapon of mass destruction there, but it just was a weapon that they didn't want us to know about because it's a fucking Stargate. And they weren't quite ready to break that one back in 2002, or whenever that was. So everyone in the chat is talking about this show V. I've never heard of this show. Can someone give me a summary, a synopsis? Mallory says, this particular show on Gaia has the most bizarre production out of all their shows. Okay, occasionally Beyond Belief feels similar, but there are other shows that are incredible. 100%, we should never paint everything with the same brush, but this one definitely has a weird vibe. Yeah, a lot of people talking about V. Can you remote view through the Stargate? It's an interesting point. I mean, there are stories of Joe McMoneagle remote viewing Mars, so I don't know if you can already sort of remote view interplanetary. I mean, is a Stargate necessary? I absolutely love your live one-take videos. Appreciate that, Lucas. Thank you. A lot of people have seen this show V. I've never heard of it. Who would the leader of a country bend his knee to? Exactly. Exactly. I have heard theories that are interesting that essentially say that like each country is kind of like a regional manager. Okay. And the people at the very, very, very top of these countries, you know, the people that are actually calling the shots are like regional managers to something else, another group, another set of entities. I don't know. I only throw that one in there because Tim Taylor, the elusive Tim Taylor, has said that there is a hierarchy of beings in the universe and factions of the intelligence agency are above humans. That's according to the guy that launches all the rockets at NASA. So, you know, make of that what you will. Reptiles come and take over the world. The 80s version was great. Okay. Wow. Interesting. Need to see that show. Did you see the clip on Sean Ryan where the psychic remote viewed the crucifixion of Jesus Christ, but she refused to talk about it? Yes, I did actually. The look on her face whenever he asked her about that was creepy. Yeah, I do actually remember that. And I remember being unsure how to feel about it because of her reaction. I couldn't tell, like, is she turning it on for the camera, or is like she actually feeling a bit like, is that like traumatic for her to think about? Josh, you have to go watch it. It was an 80s Aussie. It's an Aussie show. Really? Dude, the only alien Aussie show I remember was Pig's Breakfast. I used to love that show. Anyone remember Pig's Breakfast? Probably weren't born when that series came out. Yeah, potentially. I'm a 92 baby. Came out in the 80s. Yeah, a little bit before my time. You're not alone. I don't know what V is either. Okay, so that's good. There's a few of us here. I love your take that it was the Stargate that was the weapon of mass destruction. That actually makes so much more sense than anything else ever has. Yeah. I would hope that's the case. I really hope we didn't just go and invade a third world country for oil, or because we just like to dominate everything. That would be a much better reason. You'll link it in the Discord. Thank you very much. Sweaty Big Toe, welcome to the stream. Awesome lizard alien drama series. People eating live rats and guinea pigs scared the shit out of me as a kid. No, it wasn't Aussie. Okay. Not made by Aussies, just pop culture back then. Sounds like we need a remake. We need a modern remake. Tamara is a 61 baby. Hell yeah. We got people of all... We got weirdos of all ages in here. Yeah, the Gilgamesh tomb. Yes, that's right. We talked about that before we got into this video. A lot of strangeness around that. Let's keep going with this video. We got about shit like that. And the guy's like, huh, how did the Anunnaki fit through there? They're pretty big. Like, and like laughing. Like, bro, you've never seen the Anunnaki, okay? Don't laugh about it. Stop laughing, okay? This is real shit. You know what I'm saying, though? Like, it just doesn't help the cause. We're already talking about reptilians and Stargates. Don't laugh. Do you understand what I'm saying? Don't laugh. Got an 84 baby. I was living in the US when V was on TV in the 80s. You looked up Pig's Breakfast. Thank you for the nightmares. Let me do a quick video of this. Pigs. Yes. Yes, dude. This was the shit. Dude, Aussie TV back then was so like weird and niche and interesting. What a great show, honestly. Anyway, where were we with reptiles and Stargates? That is Pig's Breakfast, an Aussie classic. Perhaps that's where my alien interest was born. Have you heard about the alleged email involving Hillary Clinton and Gilgamesh's tomb? Yes, I have, and I feel like I've seen it or read it, but not recently. I would love to get linked that. If anyone could chuck that in the Discord, I'd love to take a look at that. Speaking of emails, and we've kind of talked about, this video is pretty much done. We've talked about, what have we talked about? We've talked about the moon landing, okay, and emails. So let's take a look at this. We're gonna read this. You need to watch V, no pigs. Yeah, look, Mr. T. I don't think I'll be rewatching Pig's Breakfast, but it's a very nice, nostalgic memory. Josh, have you watched Farscape? It's Australian. I think I've heard of it. I haven't watched it. The beings I've had contact... Well, where did that message go? The beings I've had contact with are 7 and 8 foot tall. It's Gaia that's giving the phenomenon a bad look. Yeah, I agree. I feel like Gaia is like interesting, but sometimes it just doesn't come across the right way, I think. If they're that advanced, surely they could project themselves through a small hole. Exactly. But if you're traveling interdimensionally, I'm sure you'll be able to fit through a little Stargate. All right, let's get into this email. Okay, so this is an email that was sent on behalf of Edgar Mitchell. Okay, so if you've watched my moon landing video, this is the guy who threatened to shoot Bart Sibrel, and his son said, "Do you want me to call the CIA and get him whacked?" And he said that when Bart was not in ear distance, and the microphone caught it. What was the Aussie TV show with the kid that had a doll with no face? I think it was on ABC. Man, ABC in like the mid to late 90s was a wild place. I'm gonna watch Pig's Breakfast and do a homework assignment for you. I'm looking forward to it, Chris. I would love a retell. All right, so this is a email that was sent to John Podesta on behalf of Edgar Mitchell, and this was sent in 2014. So this is sort of this is around when those like WikiLeaks thing. I mean, this is obviously where it came from, but like when Tom DeLonge was talking to John Podesta and trying to get disclosure happening. This is from around then. This is what it says. So the subject is Apollo 14 astronaut Edgar Mitchell request meeting with John Podesta to discuss disclosure. My God, I'm going full Lacerta read through version of Josh. Okay. Dr. Edgar Mitchell asked that I write to Mr. Podesta and you requesting his meeting in Washington, D.C. with John to discuss disclosure and 0-point energy. As John is aware, more than 20 countries, including the Vatican, have released top-secret papers discussing extraterrestrial incidents on Earth over many years. The US has not participated in disclosure yet. Attending the meeting with Dr. Mitchell will be the following: Dr. Dan Hill, who's a Catholic philanthropist; Dr. Michael Mansfield, Catholic retired Air Force colonel; Mrs. Terry Mansfield, Catholic consultant replacing Dr. Rebecca Wright for Dr. Mitchell in this matter. Because of his own background as a Catholic, we feel it's imperative that John be aware of the Vatican's interest in extraterrestrial intelligence and sustainability for our planet. The Vatican has hosted global seminars on the repercussions of humans interacting with extraterrestrial intelligence and how this will affect religion and consciousness. Remember, this is back in 2014. The Vatican's observatory is located here in Arizona, and its top astronomers, including Father Jose Funes and Brother Guy Consul Magno, far out, what a name, who have met with Pope Francis, have publicly stated that God's creation could very well include other intelligent life, and that would mean they are our brothers. So this is Edgar Mitchell talking to the Vatican, and they're basically discussing this non-human intelligence that has been in contact with the Vatican and that they're all aware of it, and they're seeing them as potentially brothers of humanity. We work with specific extraterrestrial intelligence from a contiguous universe. They are non-violent and in complete obedience to God. Our ETI's connection to 0-point energy is obvious in that their purpose is to guide Edgar's international Quantrex science team to apply their 0-point energy research for humanity to move away from the use of fossil fuels, which are so deleterious. Wow, I've never seen that word before. Help me out, team. I'm going with deleterious to our fragile planet. Quantrex Science Intuitive, Dr. Susan Mend. They really got all the people with the hard names in this email. She's also a practicing Catholic, advises the Quantrex team as to the specific tau neutrino. Neutrinos is something that we hear a lot about these days as well, which is the foundation for 0-point energy, something CERN scientists have begun to study, as well as scientists all over the planet. Now, there's a little bit more to this. Let me just pull this up. No, I can't. Okay, I'll just read it. Because of the recent demonstrations addressing the overwhelming issue of climate change and President Obama's own concern, we feel the timing is perfect to meet with John to map out a plan involving disclosure and 0-point energy. After having met with US Ambassador Pamela Hamamoto at the UN mission in Geneva on July 4th, Edgar announced to Swiss media, so Edgar Mitchell said to Swiss media that he intends to return to the moon on a spaceship fueled by 0-point energy at age 100 in 16 years. What do you guys think about that? Edgar Mitchell said that he is going to go back to the moon in 16 years from that point, which he obviously never did. And that was in 2014, and the disclosure never really came about. After that clip of Edgar Mitchell cussing out the moon landing Bible dude, I look at him differently. Yeah. We spoke about that earlier on in the stream, Mackenzie, that the human behavior from the astronauts when it comes to the moon landing is very odd. Doesn't add up. Great stream, Josh. Glad I caught it. Keep up the good work. Got to go smoke. Happy 420, folks. Thanks you for tuning in, man. Appreciate you coming. We are pretty much going to be wrapping up soon, guys. We've just clocked over 2 hours, which is incredible. It's been an awesome way to celebrate 10,000 subscribers, which is something that I didn't think would happen so quickly for the channel. And yeah, I still get overwhelmed regularly with the support that I get on the videos. In the Discord, the community that we're building in there is just awesome. Something I'm really proud of. It's a really open and positive place, which is by design. That's the kind of place I want to have where people can just kind of express themselves, talk about weird shit, have weird theories about things, and understand that you know it's okay to theorize and talk about weird shit. Doesn't mean you believe it. I think it's healthy. It's a good mental exercise to, you know, look at what's really going on here, because I think we can all agree, as Roger Franz has just said, that the world is weirder than we know. Seek the truth, exactly. This was great. See you in the Discord. Absolutely, guys. So if you've enjoyed today, please smash the like on the video. I think it helps the stream get pushed out a little bit further. This is the first live stream we've done on the channel. It's been a lot of fun. It's also been pretty bare bones, right? Like those little messages that come up when you guys super chat or become a member, they look ugly. I'm not going to lie. They look ugly as hell. But, you know, one thing at a time, right? We're going to get there. We're going to improve as we go, just like I try to with my videos. I try to make sure I do a little bit better every time. I'm going to apply that same framework to the live stream as well. The Discord's really taking shape. The Discord's coming along really well. If you guys want to get involved in the community, if you want to continue this conversation that we've had right now, join the Discord. It's literally below the video in the description. You should get a link there, and that will take you straight to the Discord where you can just get involved and speak to all the weirdos and become a weirdo yourself. Celia Witten, what a massive super chat, $20. Thank you so much. Says, thanks, man. Great show. I'm glad you enjoyed it. I can't say how much I appreciate you guys just coming in here and hanging out. And I feel like the vibe in the chat today has been great. Like, it's been awesome. Not just you guys communicating with me, but communicating with each other. And that's what it's all about. This whole channel is about community. And we're going to keep going with it. We're going to keep growing. We've had a gifted membership from Kendra Dawn. Thank you so much. If you were the person who received that membership, you now have access to not only members-only videos, but you have access to all the emojis. So if you are a weirdo, if you're a member, get in the chat now. Spam me with some emojis because I want to see them. It's been a great live stream. We've done just over 2 hours. I appreciate all of you guys being here. If you guys haven't yet, if you guys like this little jam that comes on at the end of the show, my friend made this. He's an Australian producer. His name's Connor, or he goes under the name Contra. Go on Spotify, give him a follow. His link's in the description too. He does a great job. It matches the vibe so well. Thank you all for tuning in. Weirdos, I love you. We'll see you soon.
Eventually people are going to say, what the hell is going on?
No matter how far you go into the dark, when you flip, you go exactly the same place to the light. In our galaxy, everything. Because everything is in balance. Everything is a polarity.
I think it's just going to get weirder and weirder and weirder, and finally it's going to be so weird that people are going to have to talk about how weird it is.